Hello and welcome back to the Everyday Greenhouse, where I show you how to build a cattle panel greenhouse, even if you don't have any building experience, even if you don't know how to use power tools, and even if you're attempting this alone. Today, I want to talk about the power tools that you will need and the skills you'll need. So I'm going to give you 5 super practical things that you can do to prepare so that you'll be ready when you want to build a cattle panel greenhouse or anything really. Number 1, get used to using a power drill. This is going to be in your hand from the beginning of the project to the end. One with drill bits for your pilot holes, and then a second more powerful one that you will use to drill the screws in. Now the first one for your pilot holes, this one here is only a 7 volt, so it doesn't need to be too expensive or too powerful for that. Your second one though that will be used for drilling screws should be 18 to 20 volts at minimum. So take some time getting used to using this. Practice unscrewing and taking out the drill bit, changing that out to a different size. Get used to moving it in forward and reverse. This is this button right here on this one. I'm not ashamed to say that when I first started out, I watched YouTube to figure out exactly how to do that because I didn't know. I'm also not ashamed to say that I looked over the manual. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. Super practical tip number 2, get used to buying lumber. Research online what kind of lumber you want, whether that's pressure treated, not treated, what sizes, meaning what length, what width, what grades are available, and then go to the hardware store and find it. Also, as part of this step, get used to purchasing the lumber and having it cut to size. So if you're buying a 2x4 that is 8 feet long and you only want it to be 4 feet long, go ahead and pick it out, put it on your cart, and ask to get it cut down to size. Doing this with a couple of pieces of lumber beforehand will make it much easier when you go back and have a larger order to pick up. Third on our super practical list of skills and tools that you'll need to build a cattle panel greenhouse is to learn how to figure out what type of hardware you need. Again, don't be afraid to ask. Tell people what you're building, whether it's indoor or outdoor, whether you're attaching 2 pieces of lumber together or 2 pieces of metal. I want to give you some practical information if you've never purchased hardware before. So this is a box of deck screws. And right here it tells you the length. So this is 8 by 1 1/4 of an inch. So this is 1 1/4 inch long, which is important to know because if you're attaching 2-inch thick boards together, this won't be long enough. If you're attaching 2 1/2-inch boards together, then this might be a little bit too long. So the length of the screw is important to know. Right here is another important piece of information. This is the shape of the drill bit and also the shape of the drill bit on the screw head. These screws take a drill bit that is a star shape. There are many other common shapes and all of them work just fine. But if you mix and match and you don't notice this, then when you pick up another box of screws that might be a different length, if you accidentally get a different drill bit, then you will constantly be having to change the drill bits back and forth out of your drill, which just takes time. So knowing what the drill bit is will just make things a little bit smoother and save you a little bit of time. You'll also want to see on here anywhere if it says that the drill bit is included. So many boxes will do that and this one does. So I don't have to buy an extra drill bit. It's not an issue if you do, but you don't want to get home and find out that you thought you had a drill bit in here and now you don't. So that's just something else to watch for. The other things to know when you're buying screws are, will you be using them indoors or outdoors? And what will you be screwing together? Will you be screwing 2 pieces of lumber together? Will you be screwing lumber and metal, 2 pieces of metal? And all of that will be shown on the box. Number 4 in our list of super practical steps is putting all of this together. So go ahead and start building something. A great first project would be a raised bed, which would be just like this, obviously only bigger. And you can see here the way that I've attached it is this horizontal piece butts into this side piece, but over here it sits on top of this piece and it continues all the way around just like that. This is a little bit better design and will be a little bit stronger than if you were to build it, say, with this horizontal piece sitting on top of the 2 side pieces. This might seem like a super easy step, and I hope that it is. But if you've never built anything before, this can really boost your confidence and really show you that yes, this can be done. And it'll also give you a sense of what's to come with building the cattle panel greenhouse because so much of the base is attaching different pieces of lumber together. And number 5 is actually a maybe. You might not even need this, but this would be to learn how to use a circular saw. So while I got as much lumber cut at the hardware store as I possibly could, there were some pieces that I could not because I didn't know what size they were going to be. Now, if you're following a set of plans that lays out every piece of lumber and all of the sizes that you need, you should be able to get everything cut at the hardware store. But if you're working on a project that's not, and you won't know the measurement until you're home and you have a larger piece of lumber, then there's a good chance that you'll need a circular saw to cut it down to size. Now, I don't have one, so I'm going to throw a picture up here on the screen. The one that I used, I actually borrowed from a friend. She brought it over. She showed me how to use it. After she left, I went online again, looked up YouTube, looked up videos for how to safely use a circular saw so that I made sure that I was not missing anything. And then that's what I used to cut my pieces down to size. If you can't get everything cut at the hardware store and you still don't want to use a circular saw, find a friend, find a neighbor that has one, and see if you can barter or exchange for something. So maybe you can go over and weed their garden, plant some flowers, and take some lumber and they will cut it down to size for you. There are lots of other good options if you don't want to purchase or don't want to use a circular saw. So those are the 5 basic tools and skills that I think you need in order to get started building a small project, especially if all or some of those steps are new to you.